All right, welcome back to another tutorial in Maya. Today it is all about the FBX converter. Now you may ask yourself, what is the FBX converter? Well, it's a way of taking like a 3ds Max file, a .3ds, and say it may be a model or something like that, and we're going to convert it and bring it into Maya so that we can use it. And basically, there's a small conversion process needed in order to sort of take models from 3DS into Maya so that we can sort of make some scenes and use them as assets in a scene. And this is really cool because there is a ton of models all over the internet, .3ds models that people post for free, so thank you very much. Some of these models I sort of got from a variety of different free sources. And, basically people post models and you can use them for non-commercial or commercial purposes. Sometimes they're specified, but just check. But anyway, it's a way to get rapidly started with sort of building a scene if you need some sort of preset type models. And we're going to be using the Autodesk FBX converter, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here. The FBX converter is an interface window which basically has a couple of different elements, and it does basically that. It converts 3DS files to an FBX file that Maya can recognize and open. And you'll notice that there's only 4 components up here. There's a converter, there's an explorer to explore data and stuff, there's a take manager, and a viewer. Well, in this case, I just have the converter open right now, and I have a viewer, which is right here, the FBX viewer. And this FBX is free from Autodesk, so you should download it and install it. And I'm going to go through the process of that, and I'm going to show you how to use this window and do all sorts of cool stuff with bringing some models into some 3DS models into Maya. All right, so that's just sort of where we're at the moment. But first, before I go too much further, just make sure you go over to Lester Banks, bookmark him, subscribe to him, go there because there is a lot of good stuff. He's on the internet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he doesn't sleep. He just eats and breathes and sleeps CG stuff. So, great guy. So go check out Lester. And also, in my journeys to sort of work with 3DS stuff, I happened to cross Cryan's channel. He's Great Teacher McMacken. All right, and he has some really good tutorials to help you get started with 3DS. And really nice guy. So I give him a Deepfriedectoplasm Award of Excellence in Education. And thank him very much for the little help he's given me on getting kind of started over a couple of hurdles with just using 3DS. Because I just loaded up 3DS. I haven't played around with 3DS that much. And I just thought I'd explore it further because I have it as part of my educational suite. So that was a real big help to find his channel. Kind of got me started in the right direction. So for 3DS stuff, go to Great Teacher McMacken. Thank you. All right, let's check this out. I'm going to come down here. Once you go to the Autodesk website, for the Mac, you'll just get your appropriate converter, and also you'll get the Maya 2011 interface. I'm on 2011, so there's a number of different choices there, but essentially you're going to need 2 files. You're going to need the converter, and then you're going to need the FBX interface. And so basically for Mac, they come in little installer packages like this, and I imagine it would be the same for a PC. So it's a real painless process. Just double click your installer box, and it'll do its thing and install it all in the right place. All right, so with that in mind, let's open up Maya and check something out in Maya really quick. You're going to want to make sure that you've checked your plugin manager, just to make sure that sometimes in your Maya program here you're going to already have an FBX bundle. So check your plugin manager. Just go to your window, come to your settings and preferences, and check your plugin manager to make sure that your FBX Maya bundle is in there. And I think it reads FBX Maya.mll for the PC. So anyway, just so you're aware of that, just make sure that you have that loaded and auto load, and you're good to go. Okay, so there you have it. Now I'm going to just sort of minimize our Maya window here for a second, and I'm going to come back to the FBX converter. Now you'll notice that it has its own interface window. Each of these little elements can be sized accordingly to, you know, kind of what you want. You can sort of make them bigger or smaller, and that's really cool. And in this case, with this FBX Viewer, you can always hit maximize right here. If you have these you know, corner icons, hit your maximize, and that'll give us a much bigger viewer size. So just be aware of that. We're going to be playing around with it like that. I'm going to hit minimize into that, and I think what I'll do is I am going to quit FBX Converter and relaunch it. But I want to show you something in the preferences here real quick. You'll notice it says load previous layout on startup. So once you get an interface kind of configuration that you like, you may want to check this box and make sure it's checked, and that way when it opens up again, it'll open up just kind of like how you left it. So I'm going to leave it like that. You'll also notice that there's some other items in here. Don't be so concerned about the Explorer right now, and the Viewer. Of course, autoplay will start playing if the FBX file has some animation and stuff going on in it, but for the most part, I'm just working with models. I don't care about animation, and I don't really want it to start auto-playing, you know, anything. But notice that you can set your time code for whatever you're working with, and you could set your, you know, whatever. So just a couple of little preferences there are cool. So general, make sure you have your load your previous setup. So anyway, we'll start from there. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window. But first, what I'm going to do, I think I might just, well, yeah, we'll reopen this. So I'm going to go to FBX Converter. I'll quit this for the moment. And once it's installed, I just basically take my packages and put them back into my FBX tools. And when you download your file from Autodesk for the Mac, it'll be a .tgz file. And for the PC, it might convert it to a .gz file or something like that. So anyway, just get them. They'll be zipped up, unwrap them, install them, okay? Go Google Autodesk FBX Converter, and you will find all the appropriate you know, versions and stuff. So cool. All right. I'm going to go ahead and launch the FBX Converter, and you'll notice that you have, it's actually like a little tiny application. I now have a cool little icon down here. I'll go ahead and launch that, and here we go. So in this scene right now, or in this interface, I've got the converter. I could just go ahead and click off that, and I could click off my viewer here and have a blank window. And right now, I just want to maybe add the converter back. Okay, and this is going to give us our window for conversion, where we can drag and drop files into here to convert them. Easy. I'm going to put the FBX Viewer in too as well. And there's my viewer. And I'll size that up a little bit. And in this case, I want to leave some empty space on my desktop here so I can have a file folder open as well. And I think that's this one right here. I have made a file folder with some 3DS models that I've been working with, and we'll work with these right now. So now we're ready to get started. Also, on my desktop, I have a folder that says 3DS to FBX. So this is kind of the routing folder where I want to route things to. So sometimes when we start doing changes and converting, we want to route those files to the right folder, okay? So really, it's as easy as this. Open up your 3DS models that you've downloaded from the internet, and you know, unzip them, because normally they come zipped up. So unzip them, and you might get something that says .3ds. Okay, so those are the files that we're going to be working with solely for this tutorial. So let's take this 3D curtain.3ds, and I'm going to drag and drop it onto this interface in the viewer. And as you can see, boom, it gives us the model. But look at where the plane is. Look at where our grid is. It's way out here. So there's a lot of separation in between there. And that's going to cause problems when you bring it into Maya, and I'll show you why, and we'll fix it. So that's really a cool thing to know. So let's just go and maybe look at something else. Here's another model that's, this is a 3D, let's see, woman. And it might take a little while for it to load when you drag and drop it on top of this window. You can see the lag there. So be aware that some models take a little bit longer to sort of fit in or load up into the viewer. So here we got just a model, but ooh, that looks weird. Okay, so something weird's going on there. So let's take a closer look. I'm going to go to this viewer window and I'll just maximize it. And I think I'll pull this down a little bit like that. And now we can kind of see what's going on. Now, if you just click on your right, left, mouse button, middle button, you basically just have basic, you know, elements. You can't really zoom in on your stuff in this FBX Viewer window. So really we're just sort of playing with it. Yeah, we're just sort of playing with it like it is. But notice that there's different camera views and display views. If you want to switch your camera up, we could take a front view, and you'll notice that your stuff changes up here when you start messing with your camera view. Here's the back view, and let's see, here's the right view, and so on. Okay, so there's top view, there's bottom view. So there you go. Now, as well, you can go into your display mode, and we can hit like wireframe, or display mode in flat, or display mode in lighted, you know, whatever. So you can view it in different modes, and that's pretty cool. So there it is. Now, another cool thing about this too is that you can also check your normals. I'll go ahead and check on there, and you can see where there's the normals. Doesn't really do us much good right now as far as seeing what's going on there, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look. Now you'll notice that the head is off, it's backwards. Look at the shoes. The shoes, I'm going to turn my normals off now. The shoes are facing backwards, the jacket's backwards, her head is... Okay, that's weird. Don't despair. Sometimes models won't be perfect. When you download 3ds free models from the internet, you're going to get a lot of weird stuff that looks like this. And there might be a way to fix this once we bring it into Maya. So we'll try doing that in a minute. But for the moment, let's just be aware that weird things can happen. Okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to minimize this again. And let's see, I think I'll shape my window down a bit. Okay, so let's get on with it. Let's look at like just another 3ds file. Here's just something that says machinery. I'm going to drag and drop it on there. Okay, so that's pretty much a machinery part. Great. Let's see, what else do we have in here? Let's see. Sometimes stuff does not work. Let's look at the space station. I know this one works, but I'm going to drag and drop it on there. It's going to load up, and there we can see this model of sort of a futuristic space station, and that's cool. All right, so you get the idea. You can sort of use this viewer to you know, look at most everything that's going on in a .3ds file, and as well you can look at OBJs and some other file formats. So let me just pick this ATSTU object. It's a .obj, and I'll drop that in there, and you'll see where it loads. I can tell that it's there, but in some cases they're going to import, and you know, you might only be able to kind of see what's going on through a wireframe view because there's no lights in the scene or something like that. So anyway, with a .obj it might be a little different, but this we could convert to an FBX file that Maya will recognize, and that is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to come back here and we're going to load up something a little bit different just to show you sort of it takes a while. Let's look at this little leopard shark 3ds file I've got. Okay, I'm going to load this little guy on here. We're going to let it do its thing, and for the most part it loads. Well, there it is. It's real small, and even if I were to maximize that view, you know, you can see it's pretty small. So bringing that into Maya is going to be, maybe problematic. I don't know. We're going to find out. All right. So let's get on with that process. Let's go over and start looking at how we convert these files. Now, I'm just going to show it to you once because you'll get it right away. Let's find something that I haven't. Let's see. I don't think I've unzipped this Yamaha scooter yet, so let's maybe unzip it. I'm going to double click it. It's going to unzip. It gives me a file folder that says scooter 2, and I can see where this stuff is sort of included in the file. But it's a .max file. Well, I doubt that the FBX Viewer will open this. Generally, it goes to default on .max files, and it just means that it's not going to open up in there. So really, you have to export. If you're using 3DS or have 3DS, you need to use that in order to sort of convert this file to a .3ds file and make sure it's not a .max file. Or you could output it from 3ds Max as an OBJ file. I know it sounds confusing, but really 3ds Max, OBJ, and .max files are some of the most common things that you're going to be working with. So anyway, let's look at maybe this skull 3ds. I'll pull my skull in there and I'll drop it on the viewer. Okay, so there it is. Looks like a skull. It looks kind of low poly, and it looks like it's setting somewhere on the grid, so maybe we'll be in luck with importing this and converting it. So let's just work on converting this little skull and bring it into Maya. I'll go ahead and take this skull right here, this file in its folder, and I'm going to drag and drop it onto this interface over here in your source files. And that'll give us the name of the file, and then we'll have a place that we can send it to. So over here, if you take a look at, I'm going to sort of give this a little more room right here. If you take a look at your options right here, you have textures, materials, animation, mesh, lights, and all of this information is going to be converted when we bring it over here into our destination, or as we convert it. But in this case, there are no textures really included, so I don't think I need to include textures, although I could leave it there just so it brings in its standard shader, whatever was on there. Materials, I don't really need materials. Animation, it's not animated, so I'm not going to want that. The mesh, you could leave the mesh. Lights, I don't need lights. I don't need camera. And the convert units, we can go ahead and just leave that on for now. But really our problem with this and this whole process lies with converting these units, okay? And I'm going to show you why when we get into Maya. So anyway, here we go. We have our file in here, and we're ready to basically convert it. The only thing we have to do now is maybe change the destination folder. And you could also rename this file, but right now I'm going to change the destination folder. I'm going to navigate to that 3ds Max to FBX. Okay, that's selected right now as my directory, and I'm going to go ahead and hit select. Now you'll notice down here too that you have some various options. Embed media, you could do that if there's textures and all sorts of stuff going on that you want to embed in there, which is cool. And right now I'm just going to save this as a binary file, a normal maya.mb. But if you check on there, you'll notice that you can also do an ASCII, and so that's cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hit convert, and we'll convert this guy, and it usually does it pretty quick. You'll notice that under here on your result it says converted, so that's great. Now we can move it into Maya. I'm going to come over here, and I think we'll just work with this one for a moment. I'm going to hide this FBX converter, and I think I'll just make my thing go away there. Let's come into Maya, and now what we can do is we can come into File, and we're going to go to Import, and we're going to direct ourselves to that 3ds Max to FBX, and here's our skull. Well, it'll be grayed out because we actually need to be importing a .fbx file. Okay, so once you come down and find that that's the FBX format and they match, go ahead and hit that, and we're now active and ready to go. So I'll click on this file, and we're going to open it. And right away, you'll see where it has stuff going on. And we're basically importing it into Maya, and here's all the options of importing it in. For the moment, I think I'm going to just leave cameras, lights, automatic, all that off. And you'll notice where down here it says our file units converted to yards. Well, you could leave this on automatic and just sort of let Maya do what it's going to do. But that skull, technically it was sitting on the grid, so I think I might set it from yards down into something more like what a skull would normally be measured in, and that might be inches. So I'll put that at inches, and I'll just hit import. And if all goes well, it should import into the scene somewhere there. And as it is now, I don't see it. But if I scroll way out, There it is. See, this is the problem with some of these FBX files and converting stuff, because you never really know where it's going to appear or come into Maya. So right now it's all the way out here. I'm going to go ahead and click on my wireframes and that, and you'll notice that there is our skull. Okay, so let's come over here first, and a good thing to do right away is come to your outliner and always check as to what's happening with that outliner. Right now it's just a skull, and it is a group. I mean, it's all together and it's basically just a mesh. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over, and you know, eventually I would just want to locate this sort of more toward my grid. And if this case, I might be able to move it up and in, and I could probably scale it back quite a bit. You know, you'll end up playing around with them quite a bit to get them sort of, you know, sort of correct. I'll go ahead and scale this down quite a bit, and I'll hit F on the keyboard. We can focus a little bit more, and I might want to bring that up. And there we go. There's our skull. I'll hit F on the keyboard, do a quick render, and there's the skull. Okay? So anyway, that just shows you kind of one problem that we're dealing with when we're dealing with these FBX files. So I'm going to come up here and go to File, and I'm going to do something a little more complicated. Let's import a little bit larger file. I'm going to navigate back to that 3ds Max, to this folder. Let's see if I can activate it, my 3ds Max files. And in this case, I want to switch up to FBX again, because that's the file format that we're working with. And we'll bring in that, that woman model there and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Open. And we're going to get our window, our importer window. And I'm going to come down and just go ahead and say, all right, well, file units are converted to inches. You know, let's import it in inches. We may need to go to yards or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import. And it's going to do its thing. And wow, that's huge. All right. So I'm going to scroll all the way out here. And as you can see, it is definitely, you know, definitely looking wrong. All right. But let's take a look at the outliner for a moment. You'll notice that we had our basic first import was this skull right down there. But now, as I imported this as an FBX, I now have a body, and underneath here I have all sorts of other things going on, okay, all the way through there. So, you know, essentially you have to be aware that there's a lot of parts coming in. And one of the best things to do as you're bringing this stuff into Maya and working with it is to group this model right away. Don't even think about going in and starting to import other stuff, because it'll totally screw you up. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to leave all that like that, and I'm going to import something else. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, and let's import another FBX, and let's go over here. In this case, let's go back to our FBX, and let's look for maybe this. Let's look for something cool as an FBX. Let's maybe come to this old barn. Yeah, we'll go to the old barn FBX. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and do the same thing. And in this case, I might not want it to be inches. I might want it to be, you know, like say a barn is more like in feet or yards. I'm going to go with yards and import. And hopefully by going there, you see it came in a lot smaller, right, like that. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and click on that and get rid of this. But you can see right away I have a problem, because I am dealing with all sorts of different surfaces and parts to that model. So if we look in the outliner again, you're going to notice where, you know, you have a lot more stuff going on here. Now, if you didn't group this object like I was talking about before, you're going to have to sort through all of this stuff now to find out, you know, what belongs to what. You know, you're going to have to know all the way down. Like let's say I know that that's my skull, and that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that like that. But now I've got this model of the body of the model. So I'm going to come all the way down and say, well, where does the model end? You know, what's the last part of that model? All right. So you can see where, you know, just by, you know, having this was pretty bad. So to do it that way, and you're going to have to figure out now what everything is. You know, this body all the way down through, you know, say maybe, yeah, I wouldn't even know where to go to start selecting like all of those, you know, parts. If I go to there, you know, that gives me some of all of the model and stuff, but I don't know if this box belongs there or not. We can come out there. So you can see where you could have some real problems with that. So essentially, I'm just going to sort of go up here and do an edit. I think I'll do a couple of Z's, and we'll go until we get rid of that import on this object. I'm just going to keep hitting Z. Okay, so now you can see where it has no more commands to undo, and that's a bad thing, because, you know, once you've imported this model, it's in there. So in this case, I might have to select the skull and get it out of the way. Just select it and move it, and hopefully I can sort of grab everything in there in this model and select everything. But you can see where it's not letting me necessarily select everything. So, you know, it's just something to be aware of. You're going to have a lot of, you know, a lot of issues like that. So let me show you real quickly, and we'll be done with this. Let's just go to File, New Scene, and I'm not going to save that. Okay, but I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to import. We're going to do an FBX import. And we're going to go back to that, let's see, we'll go back to our woman figure there, and I'm going to hit Open, and it's going to bring up the FBX dialog. And in this case, remember, it was converted to yards before, or at least our starting point. So let's convert this down to something more like, say, centimeters, or actually, she was huge in the scene. So we may want to check off miles. All right, let's just see what happens. We'll go ahead and import. We'll see what if that has any bearing on the object overall. Okay, well, you can see where it didn't like that at all. It's in the scene somewhere, but it's way past our clipping plane and it's not showing up. Or look at that, all the way down there. Okay, so there's our object right there. And, you know, you can see where, wow, by just choosing miles, that made a huge difference. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at like that for the moment, because once you get your object in here, we can go ahead and click on, say, like the body right here on our outliner. Look at where your parts start and our parts end right down here at box 06. We know that the default light set and object set should stay. So we know that basically all of this comprises our model. And what we want to do right now, and get in a habit of doing all the time, is select all of your elements here by shift clicking, you know, and just make sure everything is selected, and then come over and group them. All right, now I have a group 1, and I'm going to name that group, I think I'll name that group just woman, whatever. Woman, there we go. All right, and now if I drop that down, we can see where we have all these different parts. And when you want to size something, you have to go back to the group level. Since we grouped that, we can go ahead now and sort of scale this group up as a whole without, you know, getting any of our proportions out of whack. All right, so that's how it's done. Just keep on bringing it up to size it into the scene, and there you go. You're going to have lots of issues like this as you start using the FBX conversions, but you know, essentially that's what it does, and it makes for yeah, it's just really cool. It gives you lots of options. All right, so So there it is, a model. But now I would have to figure out how to change this around. Like here is the jacket portion of the model. So I may want to rotate this jacket around a little bit, and I might have to move it forward, and you know, you're going to run into all sorts of stuff like this. So anyway, just so you're aware of that. And that's about it, okay? So go play, download with this FBX, and play with some 3ds Max files, and bring them in and get started on, you know, doing some more stuff in Maya, okay? So sorry this tutorial was so long, but the FBX converter is really a great thing, and you needed to see sort of all of those things that are happening in there in order to get a grip on, you know, how to use it. So there you go. Hope you learned something. Read a book. And be a good person, okay? Everybody needs to be a good person every day, all day. And there you have it. All right, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.